and a sign that the political cost of following Trump over the rhetorical cliff is becoming too high for South Texas Republicans to bear as the 2026 midterms loom.
The president issued a veto threat on this resolution. You don't have 60.
In the face of the massive protests, Governor Abbott has attempted to project a familiar image of frontier strength, praising police for cracking down on demonstrators in Austin, and dismissively stating that Texas is not Minnesota. This comment was intended as a calculated swipe at the more liberal governance of the North, suggesting that Texas would not tolerate lawlessness. However, it backfired spectacularly. Commentators and data analysts were quick to point out the stark differences between the two states, but not in the way Abbott intended. On the one hand, Abbott recently vetoed funding for federal summer lunch programs for low-income children, citing bureaucratic overreach. On the other, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota signed universal school meal bills into law, ensuring no child goes hungry.
Minnesota students will now receive free school meals following the passage and signing of a universal school meals bill. After gaining approval from the state Senate as amended, the House then passed the bill last night in a 71-54 vote.
Statistically, the comparison regarding public safety is even more damning for the Texas leadership. While Minnesota's homicide rate is approximately 3 per 100,000 residents, the homicide rate in Texas is nearly double at 5.9 per 100,000. By almost any metric of public safety, infant mortality, or social welfare, Abbott's boast that Texas is not Minnesota rings hollow to those living with the reality of his policies. We have seen this frustration boiling over in the Texas House of Representatives, where the rhetoric has become increasingly heated.
A panel of federal judges in Texas has blocked the state's new congressional map that could have helped Republicans gain a handful of U.S. House seats in next year's midterms. It's a major blow to President Trump's effort to protect the GOP's slim House majority.
During recent hearings on what was described as unlawful gerrymandering, a move intended to rig the midterms that was only countered by California's aggressive legal response, a Texas voter delivered a scorching, minute-long indictment of Trump and Abbott that has since gone viral. He compared House Republicans to buzzards on a fence waiting to swoop down on a dying carcass of democracy. He accused Trump and Abbott of putting the integrity and honor of every representative up for sale, rewarding those who obey with safety from primary challenges and punishing those who say no with political exile.
Redistricting could bolster Republicans in Texas and Missouri. California is drawing lines to favor Democrats. They believe the GOP overplayed its hand and diluted red strongholds in Texas.
In a phrase that shocked the room, he referred to the Republican representatives as prostitutes to the Trump regime, arguing that they had sold their duty to the people for the temporary warmth of the president's favor. Texas Democrats, meanwhile, are showcasing a deep, diverse, and energized bench as they look toward the Senate seat and the midterms. State Representative James Tallarico and Federal Representative Jasmine Crockett have emerged as powerful, articulate voices of opposition, both maintaining strong favorability ratings that outpace the Republican incumbents. Tallarico has been particularly vocal about the regime's perceived cover-up of the Epstein files, asking pointedly on the House floor, when did pedophilia become a partisan issue? He has demanded the release of every flight log and every name, arguing that no one, including the President of the United States, should be able to cover up crimes against children. Crockett has also taken the fight to the floor of Congress in D.C., labeling the Trump administration the most corrupt in American history. She cited $300 million ballrooms, $230 million DOJ payouts for the president's hurt feelings, and the blatant use of taxpayer dollars to fund propaganda ads on Truth Social, while Trump-branded wine is sold at Coast Guard exchanges. The criticism isn't just coming from the traditional left, however. Even right-leaning cultural figures are turning on the regime as the domestic invasion of cities begins to affect their own sense of liberty. Tim Dillon, a prominent podcaster who famously moved to Texas during the pandemic before fleeing back to Los Angeles, has been unsparing in his critique of Trump's ICE agents. He described them not as elite law enforcement,